We're live on YouTube.
Thank you, Maisie. Right. Good evening and welcome everybody to the Executive Committee for the Northampton Town Council, the newly formed Town Council. And on the agenda tonight, we have a number of items to discuss with the setting up of the new Town Council. We have 7 members of our Executive Committee here. That's Councillor Rufi Ashraf, Councillor Arthur McCutcheon, Deputy Chair of the committee, Councillor Les Marriott, Councillor Catherine Russell, Councillor Jamie Lane, and Councillor Brian Markham, and other members of the Town Council are here as observers. To support us, we have Richard Waldron, who is the acting Town Clerk, who is leading us through this very complicated process of forming a Town Council, and Maisie, who is here as our democratic support. We also have Councillor Mike Hallam as an observer, driving a lorry. Very interesting. Welcome, everyone. Right. We have some apologies for absence. Richard.
Thank you, Chair. I have an apology from Councillor Hibbert, but he would have been observing. I also have an apology from Laurie Gould, the solicitor with the Borough Council, who is conflicted with another meeting this evening. He ordinarily would have been attending. I have been through the agenda with him, and I will be able to report those matters that he would have on his behalf as we go through the agenda. I have also received a formal resignation from membership of the committee from Councillor Ashraf, who is here, of course, and now that she has resigned, she will be continuing whilst here as an observer, and your committee can consider who you might wish to replace Councillor Ashraf to fill that vacancy, but the actual appointment won't be made by yourselves, but by full council. So it's open for you, Chair, if you members wish to nominate or recommend someone to replace Councillor Ashraf as a member of the committee.
Right, thank you very much, Richard. We'll do that. Right, any declarations of interest? Do you have any declarations?
I had none.
No. Oh, and apologies, Leslie. You're in a very dark room there. I didn't welcome you, but welcome Leslie, who's also here to support us from the... Just remind us where you're from, Leslie. I do beg your pardon.
No, it's fine. I'm from the Northamptonshire County Association of Local Councils, and we're helping to set up the Town Council and the 2 parishes in Northampton.
That's great. Thank you very much. Right. Before we start, if we could indicate by raising the blue hand when you wish to speak, and obviously I'll be able to take your questions or your comments in order. It just means that we are able to sort of proceed in some kind of organised way on these Zoom meetings. Thank you very much for that. Right, the first item on the agenda we really have to discuss is the information technology and accounting software. Now, this isn't my area of expertise, but we do have to agree a budget for this. There's been suggested or recommended that £17,500 is included in the draft budget for the 2020-21 budget for information technology, accounting software and telephony. The accounting software that has been recommended, Richard has done a great deal of research on this. The accounting software has to produce a number of documents that are statutory, the end of year accounts, the annual governance and accountability statement, and the vast majority of largest councils use the Amiga system, which is supplied by RBS, Realtis of Swindon. We have some prices on this, and they have quoted the sum of £3,804 for the supply and installation. The 3-year contract, annual support for 5 users is £959, and then a further quote for £1,751 for 4 days on-site training has been received. So for the accounting software, which we will have to have this, we will not have a 151 officer in the first year, and the town clerk will be acting as a responsible officer in the first year, assisted by a finance assistant. The information technology, Richard has again done a large amount of research on this, and he is suggesting a hosted computing system as opposed to acquiring our own server, hosted off-site in a remote data center, and it comes with it in the coming year, a monthly fee with no capital outlay, which would seem to be an option that we should be considering at the moment. Monthly rental for 15 subscriptions for that. Hang on, I've got the wrong page here. Oh. There's a number of details that we can perhaps go through if you're interested, but the sort of bottom line for the IT would be £9,737. That's £5,652 for hosting and £3,540 for the accountancy package. There's the system there, I think, that you're recommending, Richard, is the off-site system.
Yes, it's called Microshade, other suppliers.
That's right. Yes. And this is used by many of the councils that we've been in contact with. As for phones, by 2025, apparently, it's proposed that all BT exchanges will close, and from that date, all new telephone system will be provided via the cloud. So we are looking at an internet-based solution. Horizon is the provider that has been looked at, and the setup costs for that come out at £2,340 a month over a 3-year contract. No, £195 a month on a 3-year contract, costing £2,340 per annum. That is for 15 phones, various other technological additions. There are details here if anybody's wanting those particular details. This all comes within the £17.5 thousand that has been put into the budget already. This is just giving you an indication of the software and the technology that we need to set up the office. We'll need internet connections and setting series of council fibre optic leased line costs, and these need to be looked at along with the IT that has been, we'll have to look at this with confirmation by the Borough Council IT systems as well. I'm afraid technology is not my strong point. If there's any questions on that, I suggest that Richard would like to perhaps fill in a little bit more detail, but the base figure that we're putting into the budget for that is £17,500, and what has been outlined and researched and costed does come within that budget. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Richard?
I'll perhaps answer the questions. Thank you, Chair.
Right, we have some questions. Councillor Marriott, Les.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I don't know if everybody else has got this report before them, because I must admit I haven't checked my Borough Council emails today. But I'll be honest with you, you've just taken time reading stuff off, and really a report dealing with finance and this complex, we really needed something in front of us, not just you reading it, because I can't remember what you said. Because one of my questions would be, well, I have to bow to obviously Richard's experience on this, but I just wondered how we've linked in with the authority, the West Northampton, or anybody else that's local, to see if we get a good deal with them. That's what bothers me. But I'll say I haven't got the information in front of me. If others have, I apologise. But you were reading stuff off there, and I just, at this stage, I've not followed it all, to be honest with you.
Right, I apologise for that. Yeah, I don't think everybody has that. It's just, I was giving you some background figures.
Right.
We are really just looking at an overall figure of 17.5, and I was just indicating that there has been a breakdown. Richard, I don't know, have you looked?
Yes, I'll be happy to expand on that. Thank you, Chair. The proposal that's being suggested to you, of course, there is the option of working with West Northampton. This is a suggestion that using the opportunity of the cloud to be completely independent and to have your own system that is also provides complete flexibility. And this is a system that's used by many other councils. So it would give you complete independence and a very high degree of flexibility at comparatively small cost. The total figure includes several elements. As the Chair explained, we will not be employing a specialist responsible financial officer in year one, but will be offering support to the new town clerk who will have that role by offering accountancy support. And this is a package of measures that have all come together in order to not only supply the software, but also the hardware and the accounting support. A number of the larger town councils follow the same path, which is why I haven't gone to the Borough Council, who wouldn't be able to offer this full package. The Microshade do act as the accountants to a number of larger town councils, including Leighton Linslade, where we went. So this is essentially the package that we heard about when we researched. You all met the clerk from Leighton Linslade. So part of this 17,500, it's 3,500 accountancy fee to produce all the statutory reports you require, and then the software setup, which eventually is only £900 a year from year 2 onwards. And then the telephony is again a cloud-based system, and it's all coordinated by this company in Swindon called Microshade, who specialise in support for town councils. So it's that scheme that I have researched and have spoken to a number of colleagues at other councils to see the efficiency of the system. What you're being asked to do tonight is to approve a budget on this basis, and then if you're happy to proceed further, to authorise me to negotiate a proper package that you can approve in consultation with the IT experts at the Borough Council, because the assumption, of course, is that you will be in the Guildhall and it will have internet connections. So we'll need to establish with the Borough Council that all this will work properly. And I can give you a final worked up scheme at your next meeting. So the initial is this the sort of approach that the council wants? A cloud-based independent system that covers both telephones, IT, email addresses for all councillors, the opportunity, should you wish, for tablets for councillors if you want to go completely paperless. That's an option for the future. Mobile phones for any staff that are off-site. Everything included within one provider, and most importantly, 24-hour support for all those elements, which I think is probably the thing we most need, all of us. I think we've demonstrated that this evening. Some of us, me most particularly, need help in technology. So this is a technology assistance from a company that are experienced and well placed in the local council market. I hope that may reassure Councillor Marriott a bit more.
Just come back. I said I have to bow to Richard's experience on this, but my concern was I've got nothing down in front of me, and I think when we're doing this type of report, and it's quite comprehensive, Richard, what Jane's done and what you've done, it would have been nice to have had some report in front of us, to be honest with you, to refer to. But that's that's the only thing I was saying. But obviously, about what you're saying. Okay.
I think, Richard, before the next meeting, we'll have some of this details circulated prior to the meeting for people to look through.
Yeah.
I think that's, yes.
Certainly.
Thank you. Brian, Councillor Markham, you have a question.
Thank you. I'm pleased Richard explained that this is getting this in the budget, and there's still further in the draft budget, of course, and there's still further work. What impressed me was the support package, including in all this, because that could cost an awful lot of money. But like I think you said, Jane, that you didn't not an expert on IT at all, but actually you read through that report, and I understood the options. But like Les, I looked all day today to find out where the agenda and reports for this meeting were. So I don't have it. I've not been able to find anything either in front of me. But based on, I do think we need to check with the with IT and come back what will be at the Guildhall in the rest of the building, or what may not be there in the rest of the building, if we get our own package at the same time. And also I noticed there was no mention of, and I haven't seen the written report, no mention of, mentioned software and programs and packages there, no particular mention of the cost of hardware.
Yeah.
For instance, the tablets, computers, home. I think whether we go to paperless meetings or not, the last 10, 11 months has shown how important it is that people have and the town councillors can contact each other and by tablet. And I hope we go to paperless meetings anyway. So there's a couple of questions. One, how much are we putting in for new computers that they do all the accounts on in the office, and also giving councillors hardware so that they can access the software.
Yeah. We have discussed this, Richard, haven't we? And the fact that actually over time providing everyone with a tablet would be more economical than printing, and the cost of printing and paper and delivery.
Yes, Chair, that will be an option you can consider. Speaking with the officers of the Borough Council, there is an expectation that the offices you may occupy, and clearly we haven't yet agreed, you're going to consider accommodation later in the agenda, but there is an expectation that there could be some hardware provided to you from the Borough Council. So there is no hardware included in this particular proposal. If I may say, just in answer to Councillor Markham's concern, I acknowledge that you haven't had papers in front of you for the meeting. We've been in the Christmas period, and I've been working through that to produce the information you have this evening with colleagues at the Borough Council. Haven't really had the capacity to produce written reports in the ordinary way. I'm used, of course, to presenting written reports, as you've seen from me in other matters, and I can assure all the members that there will be a full report on the budget and transfers for your next meeting. This is a preliminary meeting leading up to it, and as you'll see from the agenda, it's really asking for a steer from you. Is this the way you want me to be going, rather than to present long reports written reports to you to be for you to say, no, we don't want you to go that way. You should have done something different. So this is a start of the process to help me produce the information you want. So please say if there's anything else you feel you would need to make a final decision.
Thank you. Thanks, Richard. Mike Hallam, Councillor Hallam, would you like to come in here?
Thank you. My video has been stopped. I don't know if somebody can re-enable it. I think it's because I got up to go and get a jumper because it's rather cold in here now. So you'll have me without video for now. I have a question and a point really. My question is, in terms of licensing and support, what analysis has been done in terms of any alternative cheaper options, as in sharing services? So we're going to have a new IT department within West Northampton Council, and there are other councils that you've already said of town councils already had this. Has any analysis been done on an alternative option in terms of tapping into an existing IT department that's for example already there? In terms of tablets for staff, I have a little concern on that. In terms of tablets, sorry, for councillors, I have a little concern on that, which might surprise people as an IT guy. But actually, what I think we need to do is full analysis on councillors and when they're elected, and have and embrace bring your own device as an option, as opposed to buying new technology. I'm sat here on my laptop at the moment, so it would make absolutely no sense to the taxpayer if I had another, if I was given a device for the town council. I've got a laptop somewhere hidden away from the county council. It would make absolutely no sense whatsoever. So I think we need to be really cautious and do a full assessment of individuals' needs, because actually for me, I don't want to be humping around 2 or 3 laptops. I want to be able to log in remotely just by a web link over my own device. And guess what? That saves the taxpayer money as well. So I think we need to be really careful about en masse analysis of IT solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's, we want to make sure that everybody has access and everybody has the information available and the technology available, but clearly nobody wants to duplicate anything that they already have. So yes, I think that is, that would always be the first decision. Right. Thanks, Mike. You had a question on your point, right? Jamie, Councillor Lane.
Thank you. Similar to what Councillor Marriott has already said, we're being asked to agree something tonight. We're not seeing a full report. And my concern is we've £17,500 this year in the budget, but what's the ongoing costs year in, year out? I'd like to see what the setup cost is for this year out of that 17,500, and what proportion of that 17,500 will be an ongoing cost each year for the technology. Bearing in mind, probably in a few years' time, the technology will need changing and updating. Thank you.
Yes, we had to provide all that in the written report that I mentioned, and I understand about the analysis. I'll provide that too with alternatives. We need to have, I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but we need to have some information for you to prepare a base budget. And this is really asking, is the approach of a cloud-based system okay with you? And that I can work up and speak with the Borough Council technology department, IT department, and give you the alternatives that you require. So this isn't you signing off on 17,500, it's you agreeing, hopefully, that this is an appropriate way to continue working on. You'll put that money in the budget and authorise me to work up the scheme and present it to another committee meeting.
I think you're getting some alternatives to investigate here, Richard. So
yes, I understand
this
that.
This is what's useful.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Catherine, Councillor Russell.
Thank you. Does the provision that we're talking about also include the cost of the creation, maintenance and ongoing updating of a website? No,
the website is a different issue. The NCALC, the Northamptonshire Association, has already provided the Town Council with the website, the one we have. I haven't got the figures in front of me, but they're much smaller than we're talking about here. Website would work alongside this, of course, and would be compatible with it, but we already have a separate standalone website.
And Richard, can I ask, with the Town Council, with the Town Clerk, be the administrator on that?
Of the website?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So it could be updated regularly with all the information that's needed.
Yes, and currently Leslie is fulfilling that role to a degree for you at the moment. I mean a degree because it's among everything else she's doing. She's not working solely for the town council, but that is really part of the job description for one of the 2 admin assistants that you have, hopefully will agree once you've approved your budget.
Right. Thank you. I think we've had all the questions there. Anybody?
I've actually raised my hand again, if that's okay.
Yes, yes, that's okay.
Other people haven't put theirs down, but if I could come back in, you know, we talked about, and Mark touched on this business about hardware, you know, and Brian mentioned as well about, and I think it's a good idea. If you've got your own, then it's great. You don't have to put the cost. Now, another suggestion for me, I'm sitting in front of a Borough Council laptop here. So as far as I'm concerned, this is second hand. I just wonder what the Borough Council is going to do with these. Whether we can purchase them ourselves or whether it will be cheaper to look at something from the local authorities that have presently got, you know, rather than actually going to purchase new pads. Is there something that they've already got that a good second hand that might be actually serviceable? So, you know, there's a couple of things to look at there, you know. So I've got this laptop here. It took me a long while to get it working right. And what are they going to do with it? Is it possible for me to purchase, or is it possible for the town council to actually own? That's one way of probably looking at, another way of looking at these things.
I'll investigate that, Chair.
Yeah, good. We still have some hands up here. Anybody wanted to come back? No. I
think Councillor Hallam's hand is up.
Yes, is this a new question?
No, it isn't. No, you can move on. I don't know why it's still up.
Okay, thank you. Right, I think, Richard, you have some additional thoughts from the group here to investigate and to include in your fuller report, which will come to us before the 19th.
Chair, Bob, Councillor Markham has got his hand up, and he's got his physical hand up as well. So.
Oh right, sorry, I thought it was from left from before.
No, I did look. Only to say that on the basis of Richard going away producing a more detailed report, on the basis that at the moment we're being asked just to put this amount in our draft budget, which will come back to us later, and I propose that we do that. That's what I was going to say. Just you know, and we will come back with more detailed analysis of other options and costings.
Right. Thank you, Brian. I think this was really to indicate to all of us the scope of the office requirements, and you know what we will have to provide for the town clerk and for the admin assistants that are going to be running the council. You know, it's quite detailed, and it looks to me as if it is fairly specifically designed for the work and the responsibilities that the town council will have to you know, adhere to. So can we leave that item, that we'll ask Richard to come back with more detail, but in principle that £17,500 is acceptable as an indication for the cost of this.
Can I just ask, Chair, thought the point of it tonight was formally, I think, you know, one way, do we formally have to, as an executive committee, vote on that or agree? At least we don't necessarily vote, maybe we'll all agree anyway, that it goes into our draft budget. I don't know whether we need to do that or not, but that was the impression that I got. We have to formally agree to it, rather than just say, well, we'll wait. Yeah, I don't know.
Richard, can I defer to you on that?
Yes, Chair, thank you. The committee has to pass a resolution. You can advise from the Chair that you feel there's a consensus from the meeting and a vote isn't necessary, or you can determine that you wish to have a vote by literally a figurative show of hands, a physical show of hands of members raising their hands, as we did at the council meeting, might be useful practice for the moment. So if councillors perhaps would put their hands in front of their face to those who are on the committee, the voting members, the 6 voting members, if they perhaps that would be the way for you to ask them to indicate their consent to the proposal you've just put to them.
Right. Would you like to indicate your consent to the proposal that Richard goes forward to produce more detail, and that we in principle agree a £17,500 budget for IT?
Thank you.
That's everyone. Thank you very much.
Chair, may I just say, you mentioned, I'm sure it was a slip, you said I'd have all the information for the 19th. I'm providing a lot of information for the 19th. I was anticipating coming back on this more detailed stuff at a later meeting. I think this is detail now. You've agreed a principle, and I can give you all the costings and alternatives later on in our cycle.
Thank you, Richard. Right, on to item 4. I think this is fairly straightforward. We're proposing that the Unity Bank is appointed. All councillors are to be on the mandate, and the Unity Bank is a much more accessible bank to have the 25 signatories on that account. It's many of the other banks require huge amounts of paperwork, and doing it on a scale as large as that is onerous. Does anybody object to the Unity Bank? I mean, I think we've used it. I've used it in many situations. Found it very accommodating, very easily accessible, very, very supportive.
Could I come in, Chair? I've indicated. So
yes.
I understand what you're saying. I've got no issue with the Unity Bank, but I just need a bit of detail about who, you talk about the 25 signatures, but who will be drawing on this account as and when there's money in there. What signatures will be required for that? Is that more detail? I understand what you're saying about the Unity Bank, because obviously I've used them for many years, but I just wondered exactly the mechanism for it.
Yes,
exactly.
Happy to answer that, Chair. It is a new system that most members and councillors won't be familiar with. These are the rules that apply to all town and parish councils, and whilst there is an opportunity for you to have the system of a responsible financial officer to sign money orders, we're not just talking cheques nowadays, money orders to the bank, the current practice, until you adopt otherwise, well, it will be 2 councillors will sign, and that will be 2 members, and all accounts will need to be approved at meetings of what will become this body you're currently sitting on, will become the Finance and Policy Committee, and it will be the Finance and Policy Committee that will receive a schedule at each meeting of a council approval, and that payment to the bank has to be signed by any 2 councillors on authority of the committee. That's in your financial regulations you've already approved. So it won't be a matter of not having committee authority to do it, but the signatures will be mine currently, plus 2 other councillors, which is why we would need to have all the members of the council on the mandate. And the issue the chair was making was simply the mechanism that a number of the principal clearing banks use to check the validity of potential names on the council's bank account can be very lengthy, and that can be tortuous. And this system is recommended by NCALC, and most town and parish councils in the county use this system.
Okay, Brian, you had another question. Councillor Markham.
I did, but I think it's covered now with Richard there.
Richard.
And yeah, okay, right. Thank you.
Right, Councillor Russell. Catherine.
Yes, thank you. I am my residents' association uses Unity, which was formerly Harvest, which is a credit union bank. Is that correct?
I don't know that derivation, I'm afraid.
Okay. Well, if it's the same, I know that the bank refused to do an electronic transfer to somebody who didn't have a business account, somebody who'd done some work for us on a website and created an artistic whatever it was, and it proved to be really problematic. I don't know if that's something that we might have to deal with. We may not have any dealings with somebody who doesn't have a business account.
Can I come in here? That I administer 2 accounts with Unity Bank, and as treasurer, and have had no problems whatsoever with individuals, with organisations, with bodies, public bodies.
Okay.
It's always been very, very straightforward. Would
That
you
was my
agree with?
experience.
Yeah. Would you agree with that, Richard?
I've heard of no issues. I have spoken to 3 large councils in relation to the previous item and asked them about Unity Bank, and no one mentioned that problem.
Right, that's right.
Councillor Hallam,
Mike.
I think, Chair.
Yes, Councillor Hallam. Mike.
Thank you. That kind of, the explanation kind of answered it. It's probably another good reason to have all of the detail in a report, you know, ahead of that, because I think your explanation answered it. I have no issue with Unity Bank over any other bank. The issue I have is more 25 signatories. First of all, sounded really scary, and having this image of one of us all traipsing around each other's addresses in a car late on one frosty night to get the signatures. But I think we've all experienced, from the backgrounds that we've all experienced the problems. And my question is internet banking available? You know, when it's a multiple signatory account, internet banking is often not available, and we just don't want to be going down that road because it makes it so difficult. We all, no doubt, we all probably bank on the internet now, and the largest town council in the country should be banking on the internet as well. So I'm just conscious that we're not going down a path where we're going to trap ourselves into the pitfalls of banking for voluntary and political associations that we're all very aware of.
I'm happy to reassure Councillor Hallam, Chair, that it is internet banking, and I did say money orders for payment, they will, in the greater part, be done by the internet.
Thank you.
The individual members will have their own sign-in to approve the list.
Right.
I think Councillor Markham was coming back.
Councillor Markham, yes. Brian?
Sorry if my hand was still up, it was meant to be, but I will say that most cases, even internet banking, once, presumably, if you're making regular payments to everything with this financial system we made, then it won't require 2 councillors to go online and authorise payments every time, because normally once a payment to an organisation is authorised, then usually they're continued to be allowed automatically. I mean, it would be silly if we had to have every single payment, we had to have the town clerk and 2 councillors go online to authorise that payment.
I'm sorry, Richard, is that?
Well, no, that is, I think we've answered it, yes, that
yes,
it
yes.
is internet banking. You won't have to
Yes.
sign everything, and yeah, the answer is yes.
Excellent. Right. Do we need a resolution on this one, Richard?
Yes, to approve the Unity Bank, please.
Right. Are we all happy to approve the Unity Bank? Having had those questions. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's unanimous. On to item number 5, civic occasions. This is where...
Chair, excuse me, I wondered, in the light of, and I accept the criticism of a lack of report, it might be helpful for this if I introduced the why we've got these 3 particular items on the agenda, why their significance and their difference, because some of the members may not, who weren't at the briefing, the informal briefing, may not be familiar with particularly the third of these. Would it be helpful if I did that first?
Yes, please do.
Thank you very much. There's an opportunity for 3 occasions of quite significance for the council. First of all, on the 1st of April, you will accept a degree of service, some significant property and a great deal of heritage and tradition from the Borough Council. I don't know as yet that whether the plans of the Borough Council or any ceremony or event to mark the passing of the borough after over nearly 900 years, but that's a major occasion, and I'm sure that the borough might be well considering something. But in any event, I'm sure you as a council would want to have an occasion when the traditions of Northampton pass from the Borough Council to the Town Council. And I was thinking of some handover type ceremony, but if the Borough Council was to have something at the end of its term, then perhaps we could include in that a formal handing over, such an event as possibly the existing mayor of the borough formally handing over the mace and the civic regalia to Councillor Ashraf for her to be almost like a mayor making ceremony, but it wouldn't be a council meeting, it would be a ceremony. So that was the first to ask your thoughts about that, and whether you would like me to approach the Borough Council and ask what they're doing, and would they wish to have you in that such a ceremony incorporated in any event for the borough. The second is obviously the matter that you've always been used to, the traditional mayor making ceremony, which will continue. I envisage that will be no different, and subject to the elections, and if Councillor Ashraf was successful and the newly elected councillors all agreeing, she could be nominated for a further period after her first 6 weeks as being town mayor. She could be elected, and that would be a similar ceremony, and with civic guests in very much the way you've been used to for hundreds of years. And so I was really asking, so that we can start the planning for that, would you be intending to have a similar ceremony as has happened in the past for the borough mayors? The third occasion is something new. All town and parish councils by law have to have an electors meeting, an annual town or parish meeting of all electors who can come and ask questions and vote on any town matter. That meeting has to be chaired by the chair of the town council, or the town mayor as it will be then. The town mayor will chair the meeting, but it is not a council meeting, it is a meeting of electors, and all the electors are entitled to come and express their view. Town councils generally use that for an opportunity to engage with the community. Some use it, for example, as an opportunity to pass out and hand out cheques that they may have awarded to the various recipient organisations and make that part of the ceremony. Some, of course, leave it simply for members of the public to come along and have express their view on anything affecting the town. Resolutions are advisory only, and the council doesn't have to go along with it. And indeed, some of the resolutions may be nothing to do with the town council, and it may simply be a matter for the mayor to pass on the resolution to the appropriate public body. But there isn't, I would have thought, an opportunity, and I know at the informal meeting of the council, when we had the formal briefing, there was a strong desire from members of the town council for you to continue with many of the historic connections of the town and to engage ever closer with the community. This seemed to me a good opportunity, should you wish, to expand upon the idea of a town meeting and to invite the wider community, as many community organisations you wish, to come to a meeting, say perhaps held in the courtroom with a couple of hundred people perhaps, and the chair of what will be the policy committee of the town council at that time to present proposals to the community, what the town council wished to do in its first 4 years. and at the same time perhaps use the Great Hall as an opportunity for those organisations to have an exhibition of their wares, to introduce themselves to you, and for councillors to meet the community and discuss how the two could work together in a whole myriad of ways. So there are three different elements to this. We could say that the first meeting, the handover, is almost like a mayor making, but I would think that is probably a ceremony between you and the Borough Council in some form. The second is, I'm suggesting you might wish to consider a traditional mayor making ceremony with all the customary guest list to follow. And the third, how you might enhance your new statutory obligation to have during the month of, well, it's April and May, the law says, but in this case, I'm suggesting we wait until after the election so that you would have the meeting proposed date of the 24th May for the first town meeting to be an occasion to meet with the community.
Councillor Lane, you've got your hand up here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. All happy with this. My only two suggestions. The first one is totally Councillor Ashraf's choice, I guess. But it's always been traditional that we have the mayor making at 11 o'clock in the morning and then the reception in the evening. To me, it perhaps makes more sense to have them together. So you go from the mayor making to the reception straight afterwards. So what I'm saying is you have the mayor making ceremony in the evening rather than the daytime. It may make it more accessible to people who work, who want to join in the celebration. The other thing, which is a civic occasion, and I know it's later in the year, I know it's in November, but Remembrance Sunday is always an absolute headache to organise, and it's done jointly with the church, with All Saints, and All Saints say they own the part of the ceremony where it's in the memorial garden, but the parade itself from the town hall is down to the borough council. And then there's this crossover period where we go in and out of the church where nobody's really involved, and it's always an absolute mess. And so I'd really like to start planning that early as possible, because where are the unitary councillors going to fit into this, who represent the Northampton wards and the lieutenancy and things like that? So I think we ought to start looking at the Remembrance Sunday ceremony as well, because it's a headache to organise.
I take your point there, because we'll have a huge number of unitary councillors involved as well. So yes, I think there's a lot to think about there. Les, Councillor Marriott, you have your hand up.
Thanks, Chair. I'm a bit puzzled now as to what the scope of the mayoralty is, because the mayoralty will be based on the town council. I understand what's being said about unitary councillors, but clearly they'll be only ones that fall in that area. So I just need a bit of understanding really of what happens to the mayoralty, because I know that the last meeting Richard said that up until now, obviously the mayor of Northampton is the first citizen of the town, the whole town. In future, they won't be. So I think I need some clarity on what is the status of the mayor ongoing as just a part of the town council, and that will then, I think, link into who gets invited to these events. The other thing as well, because I know it's hugely expensive, it has been for the borough, a good thing and all, because I think that our tradition should carry on this way with the mayoralty as best we can. But I just wondered if Richard's actually got any sort of budgets for this, because that's something we'll need to feed in, and any other engagements we've got through the year. So I think the mayoralty needs to be looked at and the costs involved, so we do know exactly where we're going on that with budgets as well. So just a couple of things really.
Yeah, I think there was.
Sorry.
So, Richard, I think there is a figure in the cross-party working group's recommendations for the mayoralty. I don't have that figure to hand.
Yes, there is indeed, and I can advise that that full figure is included in the budget. You're quite right. The existing mayoral budget is being recommended to you by the Borough Council. At least the Borough Council will be asked at its next meeting to recommend to you on the 18th of January that the full current mayoral budget for mayoral services in its widest sense is transferred to the Town Council. So that I think answers the direct point. But more particularly, Councillor Marriott was quite right in drawing again the attention of this wide issue of the role of the town mayor. The town mayor, after 1st of April, will have the status of chair of the town council. And of course, throughout the rest of the town, there will be 12 other parishes who would equally have a chairman or chair with the same status. The existing borough mayor has the statutory right of precedence over all persons in the town, except for the sovereign or her representative. That statutory right will pass to the chair of West Northampton Council on the 1st of April. In the past, there has, in other councils I've been familiar with, where there's been this dichotomy of a town mayor and not being the mayor of the principal council, that there's been a working arrangement that where an event was organised by the town council, then the town mayor took precedence and the chair of the principal council was the first honoured guest. But where it was a more general public event, then the chair of the military council would have precedence. Clearly, once the West Northamptonshire has been established, we'll need to have a civic protocol agreed with the principal council on how these matters will work. I'm sure it will amicably be agreed by the time of Remembrance Sunday, the precedence as to who will lay the wreaths in Northampton. But of course, Councillor Marriott is right. There will be a number of occasions, and Remembrance Service is obviously one, when, as far as the townspeople are concerned, the event isn't just those who live within the area of the town council. It will be the whole of Northampton, indeed probably some of the adjoining parishes also will look to the town ceremony. And that matter, that relationship with the other parishes, the 12 other parishes and potentially others adjoining, say like Malton, it is a matter I'm sure you'll want to be discussing after the elections. I think it's probably too soon to deal with now, but my assumption is you would want to carry on much as it was before without actually stepping on the toes of anyone. We need to establish protocols with all the other parishes. I think that the point Councillor Marriott is perhaps coming to is that those of you who held the mayoral office before will of course done many events, attended many occasions and ceremonies in parts of the borough that are not currently, that won't be in the area of the town council. So, and doubtless people will wish those to continue. So there will need to be some form of protocol agreed. And that is a matter that Councillor Birch and I have discussed at some length already, and we will have to discuss further as we come down to the nitty gritty, if you like, of the relationships as we get towards the end of this process of establishing the town council. Tonight, I think the principle I'm asking for is, do you wish to have a similar type ceremony so that we can start, as Councillor Lane said, these events do take a lot of pre-planning to do right, to do correctly. And if we're to have a successful event in April and May, then we really want to start planning now on the principle. So I'm asking tonight, shall we have a similar mayoral arrangement as always in the past, and perhaps, if you like, a more in-house, lower key handover ceremony, but a community-based annual town meeting.
Right, Brian, Councillor Markham, you've got a question.
I have. My question that has been ably answered and anticipated by which to get all that I'm concerned about Remembrance Sunday. To me, not just as for mayor, but family connections with forces and so on. that's one of the civic events of the year, if not the civic event of the year. But this year will be different because it's not just the Legion, the SAPA and other groups and the church involved and the town, but and the Borough Council, and the Borough Council spending quite a lot of money on it. Hopefully it will be and continue to be a whole town Remembrance Sunday that for the whole of Northampton, and so those things continue. But as far as these specific ones in April and May, I totally agree that perhaps we should consider having the mayor making an hour before a civic reception or whatever in the early evening, and then followed by the civic reception, rather than have the 11 o'clock. Especially if we're having a town meeting the week after. Specific question: Richard mentioned that town meetings are normally or statutory to be in April or May. Do most people have them before elections in May? I mean, to my mind, the sensible thing would be to, won't happen this year, but to have a town meeting generally sometime in April or March or April, and then before the election is called, so people can, the council reports back, and also people can raise issues that may become topics during the election. Well, that's a question for Richard. I don't know.
Well, I'm happy to answer it, Chair, if you like.
Go ahead, Richard, on that one. Yes.
It is the town meeting is convened by the mayor, so it's the mayor will have to consider those matters. If the mayor asks for my advice, I would say in an election year, be wary of holding it within the period of purdah, if you like, when it becomes an electioneering meeting, which is not really the purpose. The purpose is an opportunity for the townspeople, the electors, to raise matters of concern to them, rather than for candidates at election, whatever any hue, to canvass their own opinions. So I would say, and have always been used and always advised, that in an election year, have the town meeting or the parish meeting after the elections. Has more logic as well, because we'll have a new council and they can present their ideas to the community and engage with the community and say, this is planning to do for the next 4 years, whoever's in charge then.
As usual, a sensible answer to a stupid question.
Right. Rufia, I think it's probably Councillor Ashraf, you're going to be involved in this. Is there anything you'd like to add to that? I think Councillor Lane's suggestion of linking the mayor making with the evening event is probably really good. That would seem to make sense. And obviously the Remembrance Day celebrations do need huge amounts of coordination. So initially, what about the actual mayor making the handover? Have you got any thoughts? Because this is really going to be your event. After
first of all, I just want to say thank you to the councillors for their input. I think it's really important to carry on with tradition. Richard highlighted those 3 elements, which I think is really important for the town moving forward and a historic moment. Councillor Lane's suggestion, I think, would work and is more justifiable. So yes, I think the recommendations as it stands, I'm in favour with. And if we can look at having the ceremony and the follow-on event, I think that's something that we can, work with. I'll be quite happy with that.
Okay. Can we agree in principle then that we wish to continue these traditions, to enhance them where we can, and to include the community and the town in a town meeting, which will be new to the borough, but obviously is something that is particular to a town council. I have great hopes for that kind of engagement, and think it would be a very worthwhile event.
Mm-hmm.
Can we have agreement on going forward with that? Lovely. Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, I wonder if I might indulge the committee by asking for guidance on a very related matter that has been raised with me by two members of the council on civic matters relating particularly to honorary titles.
Yes, yes, please do.
Thank you. As all members know, there are in Northampton, not uniquely, but by no means copied elsewhere, the opportunity of a hereditary freedom. Hereditary freemen of the town have existed since the Middle Ages, and their descendants are entitled to be acknowledged as freemen also. That power is a power that currently rests with the Borough Council, and again will pass not to the Town Council but to the Unitary Council. I have researched this a little after it was raised by members, and I understand that some of the other significant historic towns who subsequently once were borough councils and are now town councils, particularly at Shrewsbury and in Salisbury, that both now operate the same system, continue with maintaining the hereditary role of freemen under delegated powers from the Unitary Council. So perhaps that's something you might want to put to the Shadow Unitary Council. Would they consider, amongst all the other services that we're currently considering, delegating to you authority to maintain and continue the hereditary role of freedom? There is also, of course, an honorary freeman's role in Northampton, and the Town Council will have the power to continue that directly. So after the 1st of April, that would continue, and the existing honorary freemen would have their precedence in civic occasions, just as they always have, and you would accept the new power of granting any new freedoms that you may feel appropriate. That the Act has changed slightly, and I'm sure you'll be appreciative, Chair, that it is now a free man or a free woman of the town would be granted in future. There is also the Borough Council currently appoints honorary aldermen. Aldermen used to exist in Northampton until 1974. They were not directly elected, but elected by the councillors themselves, and they were the originators of the red robes that some of you use for different occasions. That principle changed, but honorary aldermen could be granted to elected members who given on retirement had given meritorious service to the council. That again is a power that exists only for the Borough Council and won't pass in power to the Town Council. The advice from the National Association of Local Councils, of which you are now a member, is that as the Town Council would have power to grant freedoms, there's no necessity to continue with honorary aldermen, or as some towns have done in the past, grant other titles such as honorary burgess. And you simply rely upon the right to appoint freemen to, or free women to persons of meritorious. So I'm just asking at the moment, would you wish to explore with West Northamptonshire, ask them, would they consider delegating to you the power to maintain the hereditary role of freedom, and acknowledging that you will continue, perhaps a statement from the committee confirming that you wish to continue maintaining the honorary role of freeman.
Right. Jamie Lane, Councillor Lane.
Yes, thank you. I was very honoured to be mayor, and I installed the first lady freeman of the Borough of Northampton, which happens to be our current mayor's sister. 10 years ago now, believe it or not. However, what I would like Richard to look into is what happens to our current alderman. So, like Councillor McCutcheon's with us this evening, he's an alderman of the Borough of Northampton. Would he become an alderman of the Unitary Council or an alderman of the Town Council? Where's he going to sit?
Well, I think that's an answer that would have to be. I can give you an opinion, but it wouldn't be the direct answer. The direct answer would probably have to come from the legal officer of the West Northamptonshire, who have the power. My view is, for what it's worth, is that whilst the power to appoint may possibly pass to West Northamptonshire in future, they would be appointing aldermen of West Northamptonshire and not of the town. And as they were appointed directly for the town, you could, by simple resolution tonight, agree that you would continue to observe any precedents they were given in civic events in the past. You would be happy to honour in the future, i.e. when we send out the invitations to the mayor-making ceremony you want to see, we will include them in the usual line of precedents as they've had in the past.
I'd be more than happy with that, but it'd be nice to hear what an alderman has to say about that. I don't know if Councillor McCutcheon wants to comment on it, but I'm sure he'd be very pleased he'll be an alderman of the town. The borough town.
Right, Councillor Mark and Brian.
Thank you. I'm one of the two people who raised this issue. My view on our existing honorary alderman is I never liked the idea, and so. But I certainly, yes, we have honorary aldermen. They're not called alderwomen, but we have some of those as well. And yes, most of them are ex-mayors anyway. A lot of them, and yes, they would continue to be invited to civic events as former mayors. I hope will continue of the borough will continue to be invited to those events. Specific question, but it's entirely up to West Northampton whether they have their own alderman, but it's a daft idea. I always thought. Anyway, I was asked if I wanted to be one, and I said no. The specific issue, though, we can now appoint the hereditary 3 men and 3 women, and I would very much support that. And as I say, the current mayor of Northampton, of course, is one of those. And in fact, it's a tradition which is, in my knowledge, has become live, if you like, over recent years. And I think it is important, those families and those names, we should continue that. The freedom of the town, and 3 men and 3 women, for my experience is, of course, we granted units of the armed forces and other organisations. In fact, there was a suggestion that we give freedom of the borough, as it was, to the NHS, for instance, and certainly, and I think the NSUWT, what it was, shoe union, as it was in the town, also one time had free. Can organisations, as well as people, individuals, be given this new honorary freedom of the town council?
There's 2 types of honorary free. I was speaking directly of the statutory power to appoint a person, a man or woman, to be an honorary free man or free woman. You can also grant a freedom of entry, which is what I believe you're speaking about, Councillor. The freedom of entry is not a statutory honorific title. It's a convention that towns could grant that, and there's no reason why the town council couldn't continue that in the future. I know many instances of town councils that have given it to perhaps uniform organisations in the town, the Scouts and Guides or whatever, could be granted the freedom of entry, or sea cadets, or whatever the council may at the time feel appropriate. There's a procedure to go through with it, but yes, you could do so if you wished.
Right, thank you. I think Jamie's gone to get a charger for his iPad. Richard, would you be able to word a resolution for us?
Yes, I'd be grateful, Chair, if you could kindly authorise me to request West Northamptonshire to kindly consider delegating the maintenance of the hereditary role of freeman to the Town Council, and for the Town Council to reaffirm that you would continue to recognise and give customary precedence to all those who will have held honorary titles in the town prior to the 1st of April.
Right. Can we all agree on that, please? Yes.
Agreed.
Agreed. Right. Thank you very much. Right. On to item 6, policy documents. Excuse me. These are all in draft form. They are on the Town Council website, and we need to look at them, and we have to do some scrutiny on this. What I'm proposing is that we share this task between us. We have policy documents to look at: health and safety and welfare, equal opportunities, freedom of information, financial regulations, data protection, and standing orders. Most of them, I think, are fairly standard. They are the ones that will be part of the policy documents for many other councils. The one that I would like us to look at in particular are the standing orders. There may be additions that we want to put in, and we can do this. There might be a suggestion that we introduce the facility to have a call-in, to have recorded votes. You know, there are procedures that we might wish to include in the standing orders. So, would it be possible to have some hands up for any of these particular policies to look at, to bring to a further meeting, and to agree that we have seen them, we have looked at them, and we would like to propose that they go forward to the new council to be fully adopted. So I'm going to ask you to volunteer here, please. We've got health and safety, welfare. Councillor Russell, are you happy to look at that one, or is this a question?
No, it's not a question. I thought we were going to be looking at the call-in, scrutinise the call-in, and I thought that was your priority. Sorry, carry on.
Yes, I do think we all need to look at these policy documents. We can't just accept them as they are. We need to have looked at them. We need to have agreed that they are suitable. They suit our purpose. I think the standing orders is the one that we would need to perhaps look at more closely, and perhaps adapt and suggest additions. But I do think we all need to have a look at them.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Councillor Lane. Jamie, you have your hand up.
Oh, sorry, I don't think I took it down from before.
Sorry? Not from before?
I don't think I lowered it from last time.
Okay, Councillor
Hallam, I think.
Yes, Councillor Hallam, right.
Thank you. Jane, you went through the list a bit quick. Are you able to go through it again, and I'll just note them down?
Yes. Health and safety and welfare, equal opportunities, freedom of information, financial regulations, data protection, and standing orders.
Chair, might I suggest they probably fall into 3 categories of the key procedural ones, which is the financial regulations, and standing orders.
Yes.
And then there are the HR related matters. There is also a draft staff handbook on the website also, quite lengthy. And then there are the data protection matter, the data freedom of information policies which you must have. So I think they fall into three categories. And if your first meeting approved all these, subject to your scrutiny, to the scrutiny of this committee, and a recommendation for further adoption at the annual council meeting after the election. So there isn't a rush in it, but there's quite a lot of paper there for members to go through. So perhaps you might want to divide them into three categories, perhaps.
Right. Well, moving on from that, is anybody volunteering? I've got lots of hands up. Lots of hands up. Okay. Councillor McCutcheon. Arthur.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. I'd like to volunteer for the Freedom of Information document.
Right. So that would be freedom of information and the data protection.
And data protection, right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councillor Russell.
Thank you. I'd like to volunteer for equal opportunities and calling in, the one with the calling in.
That would be the standing orders. That would be.
Those are two different subjects, aren't they, really?
Yes, they are.
I think whatever goes with equal opportunities, I'd be happy to look at that.
Okay.
Sorry, what's that?
Richard, would that be the?
I think Councillor Russell is saying should be happy to do equal opportunity and the other HR ones, right. And then leave other colleagues to look at standing orders and financial regs.
Right.
Okay. Right. I'll find
Councillor Lane.
Yeah.
I'm happy with standing orders.
Standing orders. Right. Thank you very much. Financial regulations we're left with.
Well, Councillor Marriott has his hand up there.
Councillor Marriott.
Yeah, in fact, I had my hand up before everybody else. And I was just hoping then that everybody would take all the subjects before it came to me. If you just split them into the three categories, then obviously I'll do the financial services and standing orders together.
Right.
But it'd be helpful, really, because I know that on this sheet it's got on the website www. It'd be nice to know where I can find them. Not on the ... I should think, but you know, the documents themselves. Have you had them sent out, or have I lost something somewhere?
Yes.
I'll look to Leslie, who can help me with where you find them on the website, please.
So the website is www.northamptontowncouncil.gov.uk, and then when you have a look at the home page, on the left hand side, underneath the council, there's a drop down box. And at the very bottom of that, there's a page called Documents, and all of the documents are on the website there.
Okay, could you email the instructions out to us then, please? That'd be great.
Of course I can, yeah, no problem.
Thanks.
Right, thank you. So,
Chair, sorry, just following on that point, after this meeting, I'll send a note out in my next bulletin to all members, confirming who's doing what with the link as well.
Are all those documents covered, Richard?
Yes. It's just whether you want anyone else who hasn't indicated. I think you've got a few hands up. It doesn't matter, you can have someone else. There are other members have their hands up.
Right. Councillor Markham.
And
I did have my hand up and would have volunteered for the financial ones, but fortunately Councillor Marriott's doing it. So all I would say is
you could help.
I'll have a look at it anyway. And when we come back to the standing orders, the procedures, council meeting procedures, and so on, I think it would be useful that just one person reads through it. Maybe it comes back with some suggestions, perhaps we all look at it and come back at it again, because with all our different things we would perhaps like to see in there, either to make the meeting run more smoothly or to make it more open. So I think I'm particularly interested that we discuss that particular topic further, not just say, oh, well, I've read it.
No. I absolutely agree. I think the standing orders and the financial regulations are probably the things that are going to affect us on a day-to-day basis as we move forward with all this. So, and I think I absolutely agree. Any contributions towards suggestions for additions, changes to standing orders, we should be doing that. That's what this committee is charged with, really. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Councillor Hallam, I think, Chair.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Mine's been covered off. I should have lowered my hand. Sorry.
Right. Thank you. I'll have a look at the staff handbook, Richard.
Thank you.
I think that's the one that I left off my list. I didn't see that.
That's a long one.
I thought it might be. Thank you very much indeed for that. That's really helpful. So, on to item 7. We have to nominate a person to liaise with the police. Now, this is normally done by the town clerk. They become the official person, and this is a sort of almost hereditary role. It's a very long-standing role, isn't it, Richard, for town clerks to have very close connections with the police, and we just need to officially nominate that person, that town clerk, to be our police liaison for the town council. Are we happy to?
So can I nominate Richard? Is that what you're looking for?
It'll be the post holder rather than me.
Okay. Can I nominate the
town
clerk?
Right.
Yes.
We all agreed that town clerk becomes the police liaison officer. Agreed. Thank you very much. Right, we get on to the transfer of property and assets from the borough to the town council.
This chair is where I become Laurie Gould for the moment.
Right, I'll hand over to you, Richard, for that.
Thank you very much. And as I mentioned, Laurie apologised for this evening. He had another meeting. Were he here, he would have formally confirmed to you on both these matters. The first, the transfer of property and assets. The Borough Council, at its next meeting, is being recommended that the historic part of the Guildhall be transferred to the Town Council on a long lease. As members are aware, both the historic part of the Town Hall and the modern office extension are managed and serviced in all senses of the word as a single unit. And the proposal is that the Town Council be offered a long lease on the basis of internal repairs only, and the West Northampton's landlord would, subject to it also agreeing, of course, this after the Borough Council will need to be endorsed by West Northampton, would accept responsibility as landlord for the structure of the building, the roof and the external statues. The Town Council would have responsibility for the internal area of the historic part of the building. The cost of that is not insignificant, and that is included in the budget being recommended to you by the Borough Council officers, which I'll be reporting at the next meeting. But that's the first issue there on transfer. The service charge will cover things like heat, light, security, cleaning, insurance, business rates, which is the single biggest item, and as I mentioned, the cost of that, it's £180,000 is the current estimate for the Guildhall, that share of the cost. The detail, of course, would need to be worked out. There are many issues relating to shared use and common areas that would need to be resolved. But to start negotiating on your behalf and discussing with colleagues at the Borough Council and West Northants, I think it would be helpful for the committee to indicate that they wish to proceed on this basis. It isn't committing you to it, but at least agreeing that you wish to negotiate for a transfer on a long lease of the Guildhall. I have other matters relating to update you on relating to other services and events, but perhaps I should pause at the Guildhall first, Chair.
I think this is one of the real concerns that we have. Councillor Lane, Jamie.
Thank you. I should declare interest here, I think, as a member of the Town Twinning Association, because the Town Twinning Association meets in the Guildhall, and they don't use any room that they meet on the mezzanine above the lifts, but they do meet there once a month, and I imagine they meet there rent free. I'm sure we don't rent that space for our meeting that takes about 90 minutes, and I just want real confirmation that we won't be charging them rent just for using the landing for a meeting in the future.
I think, you know, I would like to just sort of jump in here, because I think that is the kind of organisation that we would want to encourage to use the Guildhall. It's the kind of community group, historical society, whatever, that should be using our town hall. And, you know, I would hope very much that, you know, arrangements could be continued if that is what they're used to in the past. You know, obviously, you know, that is for the committee to decide on, but I would hope to be able to, you know, establish that principle that the town hall is there to serve the community, and not necessarily, you know, make money out of an organisation that is dedicated to, you know, the furtherance of, you know, twinning and you know, making contacts and with other towns. Does that sort of answer your question in principle, Jamie?
Yes, it does.
I hope I haven't got any disagreement on that. Councillor Martin.
Well, I'm hard-hearted and hard-headed. The question I've got was actually if the lease includes security, maintenance, cleaning, outdoor maintenance, would we actually, as a town council, be able to gain income from letting out for graduation balls, Christmas events, wedding functions and so on? Who would that go to, I wonder, which I very much like to promote. And obviously other lettings. Now, yes, there may well be organisations, a future town council may say, oh, you can meet free of charge. If, of course, that building's open already that evening. If it's closed up, then it might be, but that's for a future town council. But the question is essentially, you know, if we promote Christmas events, by which time we'll be out of lockdown, hopefully, so there'll be lots of people wanting to hold their Christmas parties at the town hall. Would we, as a town council, get the income from that to offset some of that £180,000? And who would, what about staffing for those events? Because there's an arrangement with the bar. I think it's something to do with the brewery down Bridge Street, isn't it, or something? The bar there. What happens at events and the use of the bar? There's presumably income to the.
I think this is absolutely what we are going to have to do. We are going to have to employ somebody to run events, and commercialise the facilities, if you like. We have, in the Guildhall, an incredible asset that has to earn money. It has to earn its keep and make a contribution towards this service charge. Yes, I mean, it will be necessary to do that.
I think if I may, Chair, the direct answer to Councillor Markham is nothing as yet agreed. The principle has to be agreed with both, firstly by the Borough Council, and it's going to the meeting on the 18th, then to West Northampton's concurrence. What we're asking tonight is really indicating to you the current route of travel, if you like, towards a long lease, to see if that finds favour with you. Details about who would be responsible for lettings, who would have the income, will all have to be part of the discussion. I think it's a clear intent, the Town Council, if it was to accept a lease on the terms that are just suggested, whilst, as I mentioned, there are many common areas would need to be discussed, and staffing clearly is one of those, because currently there's a joint staffing arrangement. So I wouldn't want you to feel that you're being asked to make decisions on that at the moment. I think it's more in terms of principle, is a lease of a long lease of the historic part of the Guildhall in return for a service charge that would need to be negotiated and demonstrated in detail. We've got a broad estimate at the moment. Is that the sort of thing you would want to us to start negotiating?
Yeah, I mean, leases are incredibly complex. Councillor Marriott, Les.
Thanks, Chair. Obviously, I'm concerned about people looking at what we can use the Guildhall for, whether we should charge or not. No, we're not at that stage yet, and Richard's pointed that out. We're looking at negotiating. But I think before we actually decide to take this on, because it's going to, as Richard said, it's not a cheap item to run, and it's not just at Christmas time. It's a bit like your pet, isn't it? It's 24/7, 365, 366 days a year. The building will be there. So what I'd like us to do as part of this, so we get a good idea, is look at what it's going to cost in its present form for us, and then also get at least some people that know how to run businesses from these properties, and get that input into it as well. So I think we need a fuller picture, really, from somebody in the know, because obviously we're as councillors, so I don't think any of us are really in the know to actually what to do with a building of that size and who to let it to or what to do. But we need to understand the potential of the building at the same time. It's no good taking on something that can drown us financially, or the residents in the town council, without understanding if we can draw some extra income from it. So I think that's an important part, really, before we make the decision as well, Richard. I know it gets a bit more complicated for you, but it's no good just negotiating. At the end of the day, we pick up all the charges,
Well, it isn't a concern for me. It's firstly a matter for the Borough Council, and I think there is a strong desire amongst some Borough Councillors that this is an intrinsic part of the Town Council, and that they're keen to see that the building is transferred before the 1st of April, that they will, to ensure its continuity as the focal point of the civic heritage, if you like, of the town. The matters that Councillor Marriott refers to, of course, are important, and I would respectfully suggest that the principle of establishing a lease would need to be considered first, because the matters as to how the building is managed in the longer term can be a not very lengthy process. I would have thought once you have a full-time town clerk, they would want to, after the election, to look at all the council services, have a root and branch review. We're going to consider shortly the first report on the budget. The budget will only have to be, and can only be, in my view, this year, a contingency budget, and the new town council after the election will have to look in detail at all its assets and services and how they're operated, and how it may wish to change, enhance them, or make other changes in the future. But I think there's quite a move to see that we at least have some ability to retain it as part of the civic transfer. So there's some continuity on that side. How it's managed in the longer term, I think that may have to be subject of quite a lengthy and ongoing debate throughout the first year of the Town Council's existence after the election.
Yeah, thanks for that, Richard. I think the long lease will protect the Guildhall in the future. That's been a very strong element of the cross-party working group's discussions on the lease. The lease will protect the Guildhall, preserve it for the town. Richard, would it be any use to find out, just for the point of interest and discussion and reassurance, the income that is generated at present by the functions within the historic part of the town hall?
I don't have those figures. I'm assuming the information I currently have would be a net figure.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be netted off. But I don't have a detailed breakdown. You may want to ask, if you agree to the principle, you may want to perhaps ask a couple of members to look at the detailed figures, and maybe even, I don't know if this is going to be physically possible in the current climate, to walk around with borough councillors, the Guildhall, and determine any individual matters. It's a difficult issue at the moment. I don't think access is going to be easy.
No, it isn't easy. I'm just thinking that it is a considerable sum of money for the service charge, and there has to be some sort of ability to offset that charge with using the building in particular ways. And the building is used at the moment, so it might be interesting just to see how much income is generated at the moment, to perhaps offset some of those.
Yes, I understand the point, Joe. But perhaps I might suggest then that if you were to agree to to continue to explore the possibility of a long lease as currently being proposed, that be subject to you receiving a full report at a later date on the full income and expenditure on the Guildhall.
Thank you. That's what I want to say. Is there anybody else who wants to speak on this? Councillor Marriott, do you want to come back on anything? No, you're okay. Councillor Lane?
Okay, I should have put the hand down. Yeah, no, what Richard's suggesting now is good. At least it gives some knowledge, because I know that sentiment's one thing, but cost to the public is another. So that's what you have to think about as well. Thanks very much.
Right. Thank you. Right, can we agree that we proceed with investigating the lease, that we move the lease forward, that we get some more information about some costings on that? Happy for Richard to go ahead for that. Right, thank you very much. Thank you. Right, we want.
I was going to say, but just an update with the members. I don't have information on other services yet, but as this is the first formal meeting of the committee, I think, Chair, it might be helpful just to put on the record the view that was expressed at the informal meeting, and that which I've done on your instruction. You may recall that councillors indicated at the informal meeting that you wanted to have some information on the financial and staffing implications of a number of assets, some of which have been already agreed to be transferred, such as allotments, and other services which may be considered in the future, a long list. And that long list I have submitted to the colleague officers at the Borough Council, who are looking into it and producing figures, which I hope will be available in time for your meeting on the 19th, when you be a first item prior to looking at the budget, so that members can look at the current Borough Council cost, the net cost of each service at present, in order for you to take a decision as to whether you would want to continue looking at a transfer of that service. And the list was quite lengthy, but just to put on the record, it was local open spaces and play areas. That's not including what I think are termed the premier parks, like Abington Park, the Racecourse, Beckett's Park, Bradlaugh Fields, etc., and not any land held under the housing revenue account. Market, allotments, closed churchyards, community centres, the muniments and all civic regalia, tourism, town twinning, events and entertainments, hanging baskets and planting displays, festive lighting, community grants, community centres, civic events and offices of dignity you've discussed earlier, street furniture, the war memorial and statues, neighbourhood wardens, park rangers and council representatives on outside bodies. A very long list, but hopefully that can be brought to your meeting on the 19th with some indication further of the views of officers and potentially of members of the Borough Council.
Thank you, Richard. Brian Markham, Councillor Markham.
There was a long list. I don't think on that list was the market and the market, not the market square, but the market itself and the market office. We did discuss it previously. I also accept that some of those, I mean, it's up to formally, I suppose, we need to agree whether we want to look at that tonight. But one of the things, though, the market, yes, the Borough Council might say, yeah, we're in favour of that, or this is what it costs. But of course, at the end of the day, it will be the new West Northampton Council that makes that decision, I guess. I don't think before 1st of April that the Borough Council is going to agree to transfer responsibility from the market to us. I just wondered if Richard or in fact the Borough Council have been, as part of building up the West Northampton, whether the Borough Council's also discussing with West Northampton what they're going to be taking on. Have West Northampton already said we're not interested in the market, or have they already said they want the market? I know, for instance, Daventry Town Council took on their market only within the last 12 months, I think.
Yes, Chair, Daventry took on a number of services that were previously operated by Daventry District Council. With regard to the market, the Borough Council agreed at its meeting in November to transfer the market to the Town Council, subject to further reports to the cross-party working group. So the principle has already been taken, and indeed a number of the other services, not all of them. There are some new things on your wish list, or sorry, not your wish list, the list of matters you wish to consider and have asked for information about to enable you to take an informed decision. But the Borough Council has already decided to transfer the market, subject to further reports through the cross-party working group and the full council, and doubtless that will happen in the coming weeks. And the Borough Council's resolution also included a number of the things I've just mentioned as well, including town centre management and festive lighting and planting. I don't know the process, Chair, for consulting with West Northampton, but clearly they will be consulted with by the Borough Council on all this transfer issue, and especially if there are staffing implications. The current default position for all Borough Council staff is that they transfer to West Northampton. If there was a change in that, there would have to be agreement between the principal councils. It's just updating you that you asked for information on this list of services, and I'm really reporting in the formal record that you have asked me to request that information, and I hope it will be coming to you in the not too distant future.
Sorry, Chair, could I, if you don't mind me coming back on this? I know this November there was discussion and misunderstood what we were perhaps agreeing at the Borough Council. So, subject to further, the Borough Council has quite clearly saying the market transfers to the Town Council, then subject to further negotiation, and therefore presumably is not discussing with West Northants the future of the market. In which case, we definitely, as the town council, know what that, have to have the information, what that costs, and yeah, well, as we prepare our budget, don't we? Because it seems, I mean, I think that's a logical thing to do. But if if the borough council looks like even before the 1st of April will be transferring the market to the town council, we definitely need to know everything involved with that, and that's presumably, for instance, telephone equipment. There's a market office, isn't there? So that has to be linked in.
Yes.
Maybe, yeah.
Yes, I think all these details we'll have to look at. We have to decide whether they fit with the budget, whether it's something that we want to continue, we want to change, we want to look at doing more efficiently, more economically. Yeah, all up for discussion. Mike, Councillor Hallam, if you'd like to come in quickly on the end of this.
Yeah, I will do. Thanks. It's a quick question on wardens and rangers, actually. So wardens and rangers are obviously a considerable cost pressure, but obviously I think we all accept they add an absolute ton of value. But that's not the only element of that service, because there's also the third-party enforcement contract, which actually brings in an income stream at the moment to the borough council. Of there's various ways to do it, but the way it's set up at the moment is it's almost like a rebate or a sponsorship, which still represents a 5-figure sum. So if we were looking at that, I certainly wouldn't want one without the other. I certainly wouldn't want to take on the one that's a cost pressure without taking on the one that that brings a level of revenue, and one that could be maybe tiered in a slightly different way. Obviously, it's not operating at the moment because of the COVID situation, but that when life does get back to normal, that is an element that we shouldn't forget, because it's a revenue element of the service.
And thank you for that. It's obviously your portfolio area, so it's something that we will call on you perhaps to give us a little bit more information on at the later stage.
I would say nobody from West Northants has contacted me over it or had any conversations with me over it so far. So I don't know what conversations I've had. I'll probably go and try and find out, but certainly nobody's actively approached me, because obviously Daventry and South Northants don't have that level of that type of service at the moment.
Thank you very much for that.
Could I just be for clarity for Councillor Hallam? This is one of those services which falls into the category of matters you've asked me to request. I don't think there's been any discussion by anyone on this other than you asking me to ask the Borough Council for staffing and financial implications if you want to consider the transfer of that particular service. So there hasn't been any discussions by anyone yet. I hope we'll have some information from officers to enable you to make a decision. Do you want to pursue it or not?
I think it's just the key thing from my point of view is making sure we don't forget the revenue bit. So
I understand that.
in any conversation. So I'd be really interested in the information that you get and having a look at that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Right. Are we agreed that Richard will go forward with the investigations about lease and costings? Right. Thank you very much, everyone. Right, on to item 9, our last item, the budget. I think we've covered a lot of this in the meeting, Richard, and just like to stress that we will be preparing a contingency budget and giving the capacity and the opportunity for the new council to look in detail at these services. So these are not detailed, these are not set in stone. It is a contingency budget, and the new council in May will actually be looking at this in much more detail. Richard, is there anything you want to add to that?
Thank you very much, Chair. No, there isn't much to say this. The only thing I would want to add, again, in the guise of Laurie Gould, from the Borough Council point of view, borough officers, as I alluded to earlier in the meeting, have prepared a base budget for the Town Council, which is being reported to the Borough Council at its next meeting in a couple of weeks' time. That shows a total budget of 1.1 million, or some £30 at Band D, it includes for the costs of the Guildhall, the transfer of the mayoralty, the staffing costs for the town clerk and support staff, and other setup costs. It does not include specifically for any of the services that we've just been talking about. It does, however, include a contingency sum of £400,000 for future projects and possible contributions to reserves. Dependent upon your decisions on all these matters of transfer, if one added up the potential cost of all those services, it would certainly considerably exceed 400,000. So this is a base budget to which you potentially could add if you wished. But it's just to report to you so members are aware when they see those figures at the Borough Council, that's the officers advising the Borough Council and through them to you. This is their recommendation of what is needed as a base level for the Town Council to operate, with just a contingency of £400,000 for reserves and for potential new services or transferred services. The only thing I'll comment on is on the point about the reserves. I think it would be prudent for the council and beyond my appointment, when you have a permanent town clerk, I'm sure they would say the same, that it would be prudent for the council to seek to establish during its first term of office, its first 4 years, a fairly high level of reserve for a council with some considerable ambitions. You will inherit £0 on day one, and you'd need to have something behind you. So a reasonable figure of contribution to reserves in your first budget of, in my view, something like £200,000 would be crucial as a first contribution, perhaps similar sums for each of the next 4 years. But again, I haven't been able to produce enough information for you to make any decisions tonight, and you'll see this further meeting is to be held at 6 o'clock on Tuesday the 19th, when I hope to be able to present to you a fuller contingency budget. The only point I'd make finally on contingency, Chair, is that under the procedures for setting a precept, the Town Council element of the precept, it's entirely your decision, whatever the precept. The Borough Council would make recommendations to you, but it's your decision, whatever you feel is appropriate for the people of the area of the town. But you will need to make that at your meeting at the end of January, the full council meeting. So the meeting on the 19th of January is crucial for the Town Council. It will be a contingency budget because there will be some unknowns. There may be many unknowns relating to future services and issues and aspirations. But to enable any of those to move forward, you'll have to decide a contingency budget to start with. And then the details of service transfers can continue to be worked out right up to 1st of April. But we'll have to make a financial decision by the end of this month.
Yes, and I understand that the precept needs to be needs to go to the Borough Council by the end of January.
Correct.
Is that correct? Yes. So that's a decision that we
so
have to
with timings of calling meetings, Chair, that the meeting on the 27th is the cut-off date for you to. You can only make one precept a year.
Right. Thank you. Are we happy to note?
Councillor Hallam, I think, is indicating.
Right. Councillor Hallam.
Sorry, I'm not. I just didn't take my hand down. I need to get into that habit in 2021. That could be my New Year's resolution.
Thank you. Right. Can we note that the budget will be discussed in full to next meeting, and that we will have further information from Richard on that?
Yeah, noted.
Noted. Thank you very much. Right. Then I think that brings us to the end of the meeting. The next meeting is 6 o'clock, the 19th of January. Please note the change of time to 6 p.m. rather than 6:30.
Could I just say I'm not sure yet, because I just wondered the Tuesday, that